National Commission was this wonderful collection of various kinds of experts. I was struck by the fact that the legal mandate for the committee actually required a substantial presence of non-scientists. Essentially, half of the commission were non-scientists, philosophers, ethicists, lawyers, people with an interest in human subjects protection, but not from the point of view of being research scientists. They met over the course of several years. In order to do sustained work, they commissioned a lot of consultants to write papers on some of the key issues. Obviously, one of the major issues was consent in human subjects research, and I was commissioned to write one of the studies on the concept of informed consent. I traced the tensions in various strands of the history of medical ethics. One remarkable fact that really we only belatedly discovered was if you take the Hippocratic Oath seriously, it requires the physician to work for the benefit of his patient or her patient according to the physician's ability and judgment. Logically, that means physicians are prohibited from doing any research with their patients, or for that matter, even with non-patients, if you define research as an enterprise designed to pursue generalizable knowledge and not to work for the benefit of the specific patient with whom the researcher might be providing care. So I emphasized the enormous challenge to traditional medical ethics that research medicine poses. I pointed out that classical utilitarianism gets you beyond the individual patient, but it has this enormous problem of justifying a behavior whenever the aggregate good outweighs the harm that is done, or at least when it maximizing aggregate net utility. The problem with that is one way you can maximize aggregate net utility is by doing potentially serious harms to one individual and justify it by the millions of people down the road who will eventually benefit. That's, if you like, a ready-made justification for the Nazi research, and we surely wanted to avoid any system of ethics that would imply a toleration of Nazi medical research. The alternative was to turn to the notion of human rights, to the rights of individuals and the duties of others interacting with those individuals. And I suggested in my background paper that informed consent really has its foundation in this duty-based approach to medical ethics. It would justify certain activities of medical researchers that aren't designed specifically for the benefit of the patient, but it would be held in check by certain duty-based moral insights, the most obvious of which was an adequately informed consent by the subject. I've often stressed that when I hear researchers say they're going to get fully informed consent, my antennae go up. They say the person really doesn't mean that, because fully informed consent would mean tell the subjects literally everything, and nobody in his right mind wants to know literally everything. So I use the phrase adequately informed consent, and I argue in the background paper for the National Commission that adequately informed consent, the requirement for adequately informed consent, has its foundation in this duty-based ethic that opens the door to research that may not benefit the individual subject, but it doesn't open the door to subordinating the rights and interests of an individual subject to the masses of humanity that one day may benefit from the research.